study this segment of the past with an eye firmly fixed on present-day concerns. It also analyzes what occurred and its significance for us 5 centuries later. One of its chief assumptions is that no Westerner can ever hope to know him or herself or the world he or she lives in without first understanding this crucial turning point in history. And the same goes for any non-Westerner who wants to understand Western civilization. Naturally, this book also assumes that the ancient Greek aphorism, "Know thyself," is still valid, and a key to survival and continual progress in our increasingly amnesiac global village. Given that those who are ignorant of the past can be more easily fooled and controlled in the present by power-hungry ideologues or by their own worst impulses, this book has been written with a sense of urgency. This book also assumes that to understand this crucial period in Western history, one must take religion seriously as a real factor in human events, as something that gave shape to that age and to our own in ways that we now find difficult to imagine or comprehend. This is not to say that religion was some monolithic, isolated sphere of human activity back then, or that it could ever be the sole concern for any individual or society. Much less is it to say that religion is the most significant sphere of human activity, or that theology and beliefs are the sole lens through which to view this epochal shift. What is assumed in this book is something that nearly all experts on this period agree on, that religion permeated all of life, even though not everyone was equally religious or pious. Religion was a language of sorts at the turn of the 16th century, a way of conceiving and of expressing, and a way of interacting with one's neighbors, near and far. It was also the very marrow of all social, economic, political, and cultural exchanges. Even the minutest details of daily life could be inseparable from religion, shaped by it to some extent in various ways. Some sociologists and anthropologists speak of religion as a social glue, a cultural reality that binds society together. Religion was more than a social glue back then. Because it linked everyone in every village and kingdom, it also allowed them to transcend seemingly insurmountable social, political, cultural, linguistic, and ethnic boundaries. From Portugal in the southwest to Lithuania in the northeast, and from Sicily in the far south to Scandinavia in the extreme north, a common set of myths, rituals, symbols, and ethical norms linked all Westerners, and so did one ancient and complex institution that mediated this religion, the Catholic Church, led by the Pope in Rome. To break with this church was to turn it from an adhesive into an explosive, to change it into social dynamite. The name for this transitional moment in history has changed over the years. In the English-speaking world, as in several other European cultures, this era came to be known as the Reformation. Implicit in this designation is the judgment that something corrupt had been reformed or improved. More than that, the singular capitalized name given to this historical period implied that this event was the ultimate, definitive step in the right direction. It was not a Reformation, but the Reformation. Such a perspective on the past stemmed from certain religious convictions and from the fact that English culture itself was shaped by a break with the Catholic Church. In other words, English culture was Protestant, the name by which all who broke with the Roman Catholic Church came to be known. In England and all of its colonies, as in all other Protestant cultures, the only true Reformation, with a capital R, was that brought about by Protestants. All narratives shaped by this Protestant consciousness shared an unquestioned assumption and a common plot line. Sometime after the 4th century, the true Christian Church, founded by Christ and his apostles, fell into gross corruption for 1,000 years, a defilement so deep and thorough that the only way to restore the genuine Christian faith on this earth was to reject the Church led by the Pope in Rome and to replace it with one that had nothing to do with Romishness or popery. This plot line made it necessary for the history of the Reformation to be approached in terms of a pathology, that is, as a diagnosis of what ailed the post-4th century Church, and a description of the cure that saved it and brought it back to health in the 16th century. Oddly, even though Protestants were not always of one mind and actually created a number of distinct competing